On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Hymns in Dissonance by Whitechapel. To another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And normally during March, we set aside some time to talk about things that aren't metal.
Right.
But this year we kind of decided, you know what? We're going to do whatever feels right, whatever feels good, whatever we want.
I mean, what stone are these rules written in?
None that I've seen.
Okay.
And I came up with them, so I would have had to write them in the stone.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that because that would have been too much work.
And weird.
It would have been weird for me to do that.
It would have been.
For sure. So yeah, I decided there's a brand new Whitechapel album out. It's fucking sick. It is so gnarly. I have to talk about it. I don't care what month it is. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, you know, when I drove past you earlier, we were walking home. You probably had your earbuds in, yeah?
No, I actually didn't put my earbuds in for some goddamn reason on my walk home from work.
Did you hear? I had that shit cranked all the way up.
I did not hear it as you drove past, unfortunately. I think my focus was on other things. For example,
not being hit by a car.
Not being hit by cars.
Yeah.
Although I wasn't crossing as you drove past. So.
Well, you were fitting to.
I was getting ready.
Right, you were in position.
I was preparing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you had your fingers on the line.
I had to sit and wait for a lot longer than normal on my walk. Like all the way to my apartment. Hardly any cars going by. The moment I get ready to cross, I have to sit and wait for like 2 minutes. Just car after car going past until eventually you drive past. I think Jess might have drove past me as well.
She did.
So yeah, it was. I always hate that where it's like okay, not that much traffic. All right, I should just be able to walk right over. Nope. Get there and just one of the things that I really hate about the street that we're on.
Yeah.
That popped into my head yesterday because there was some kind of an accident right across the street in that basically empty lot.
Sure.
And there was a cop car there still after the car that had been in some manner of an accident got towed away. Just as I was walking up, the car was being pulled away and the cop was still sitting there.
Yeah.
I knew that no one was going to give a shit, but there's that part of me that's like, what if they have an issue with me crossing the street here? It's like, well...
They don't.
Yeah, no, they're not going to.
You're jaywalking, but...
Because I think they also know that the nearest crosswalk in either direction is about 1.5 miles.
Right.
The whole 3 mile stretch, 2.5, maybe 2.5 mile stretch of 31st from Broadway to 16th, maybe just 2 miles.
Yeah, it's not 3 miles. It might not even be a full 2 miles,
but anyway. I know it's around 0.5 mile from work to here, so 2's probably closer. But that whole 2 mile stretch, there are 2 crosswalks.
Right.
One at either end.
One at Broadway and one at 16th. I love this local content.
And well, I think it's something a lot of people can probably relate to, which is just cities in this country not being most cities in the western 3/4 of this country not being built with any sort of mind paid to the existence of pedestrians.
Right.
There's only sidewalks on one side of the street. And I was talking about this with our administrative assistant Kim at work, where we're doing a contest now every day where I give away a gift card to a local restaurant, and we mail them to people. and she had been taking them to the post office like every day. And she was like, that, it's kind of inconvenient. It's like, there's a U.S. mailbox on the other side of the street, though.
Right.
Could you take it there on your walk home from work? I was like, well, there's no sidewalk on that side, so I'd have to cross 31st 2 more times every day. One to get to the mailbox, and then again to get back on the side of the street where there's a fucking sidewalk. And then eventually we're like, there's no reason why you have to take them. Like, I didn't realize up until the end of the conversation that she had been taking them every day to the post office. Like, you don't need to do that, or not to the post office, but probably just to that mailbox.
Right.
And driving it over there. It was like, you don't have to do that. I've never promised them that we're going to send them in the mail today.
Right. Send them on Friday.
Yeah, just wait till you go to the bank on Friday. And that'd be perfectly fine. So that's what we're doing now. But yeah, it's like she hadn't noticed that there's only a sidewalk on one side of the street.
Right.
The only sidewalk on the the south side of 31st is at the very end, attached to the parking lot of that little strip there, where the Dakota Lounge is at, as it turns into 16th. That's the only sidewalk on that entire side of the street for 2 miles, because it's North Dakota. Why would you walk anywhere?
Right. Yeah, you're gonna freeze to death. You go out to get your paper, and they find you frozen like in a cartoon.
And it's like I get it that pretty much everybody has a car. People don't generally actually walk meaningful distances during the winter. But man, even if you're like, most neighborhoods are usually a little better about actually having sidewalks. Some of them aren't. Some of them have no sidewalks. That's whole massive property developments in Fargo. Not a fucking sidewalk in sight. It's pure classic looking suburbia, like big, property development, new houses, no sidewalks. No sidewalks in the entire, like 4 square miles. Not a sidewalk. What the fuck? What if you just want to go for a walk? Like, why do you have to walk on the fucking road? Yeah, it's stupid. I hate it. I despise it because sidewalks are hard.
We should move to Amsterdam.
Yes.
Because of the sidewalks.
Specifically for the sidewalks and for no other reason.
Exactly. There's a story.
There's no other reason why you would move to Amsterdam.
No.
Never. Let's move to Switzerland.
Sure.
For the sidewalks.
Move to Bern.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that most of Europe is just good at having sidewalks in places.
Right. Because those cities were built before you could do anything other than walk. I mean, walking was your only mode of transport, unless you had like a horse.
And even the cities that, for some weird reason, had to completely rebuild sections of themselves sometime during the late 40s.
Right,
I don't know why
50s.
that is.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of cities in Europe that really had to rebuild whole sections of the city in the late 40s, and I don't know why.
Right, you look at your histoy of Europe, and then those pages are all just
a lot of new buildings in 1946.
Just suddenly.
That's weird. But even those places, built at a time where still most people didn't have cars necessarily. Plenty of people did, but if you just live in the city, you didn't need a car. You'd walk, or you'd take the train, or you'd take subway or something.
Right.
Public transport.
Crazy.
Weird.
We have that here, technically.
Technically.
Yeah. I don't know how to get on it.
I've seen people get on it.
Right.
I don't know how I would do it. I guess I would just stand in the right spot. You just stand in the right spot and wait. People stand outside our place of work and get on the bus there.
That's true. Sometimes people get outside our place of work. They set up a lawn chair.
Yeah.
Remember that one guy who was just sitting there because it was hot and there was a tree?
I don't know if I remember that. I've seen some things outside, on that sidewalk there.
Mm-hmm. I've seen several cars.
Several cars?
On that sidewalk, yeah.
Oh, on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, usually it's someone who's elderly. Driving down the sidewalk, and you usually see on their face like, "Oh, I've made a mistake."
Uh-oh, something's gone wrong. Speaking of elderly people on that sidewalk, I've told you this story before.
Oh, you're talking about the toe on the skateboard? Yeah.
Oh, it was magical.
Mm-hmm.
It was I probably told this story on the podcast before, but I don't care. It's a great story, in my opinion.
Right.
This was when I was working part-time, and it was during the summer at some point. Nice, beautiful, sunny day.
Mm-hmm.
In the evening, golden hour. I turn around momentarily and look out the window, and I see an old lady on a mobility scooter absolutely fucking gunning it down the sidewalk, maximum speed, and behind her, not skitching, not grabbing on to the basket at the back or anything like that. A rope holding a rope tied to the mobility scooter is some guy, late teens, early 20s, on a skateboard, being pulled by this old lady on her mobility scooter, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen.
Did they look like they're having fun, or?
Yeah, I mean, they were relatively far away, and I didn't get I only got a side profile of their faces. She was going fast, like fast enough where she almost maybe shouldn't have been on the sidewalk. It seemed like she went by pretty goddamn fast.
What if you didn't see the knife in the skateboarder's hand?
He was chasing her?
Yeah, using a rope.
He had lassoed
Yeah.
onto there, and he was pulling himself slowly towards her with the knife.
Yeah, onto the bumper hitch.
Well, I didn't see his long hook arms that he was using to clamp himself onto the bat. Turns out he was the T-1000.
Have you seen this old lady?
I hadn't noticed it was. I had his name a second ago.
What?
The guy who played the T-1000.
Oh,
Patrick?
Yeah, Robert Patrick.
Robert, yeah, I didn't notice it was Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
Somehow I didn't say. I thought it was a guy in his early 20s, but actually it was famed Hollywood character actor Robert Patrick, of X-Files fame. Everyone knows and loves the Robert Patrick seasons of the X-Files. When I don't know if Mulder was gone specifically because of issues with David Duchovny.
Yeah, he did have to go away for a while.
Yeah, like that. I don't know if it was just plot reasons or if it was because David Duchovny was being himself.
I mean, he was a self-proclaimed sex addict. Remember that? And I think he went to some sort of a treatment facility for it.
Yeah, he's had some issues in his time, so I don't know if that's the reason why Mulder was kind of gone for a while on X-Files. I don't remember how many seasons that was. I watched a lot of X-Files as a kid, probably too much given how old I was, but it was my mom's favorite show. So
sure. There's a bunch of shows my 13-year-old and I watch that his mom would never approve of us watching together.
I mean, that's just the experience. I feel like that's the experience of being a teen, a tween, preteen, is just watching stuff with your dad that you're not supposed to tell mom about.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the experience for sure.
Yeah, his mom would not let him watch porn.
Oh God.
And we don't watch it together, so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
So you know.
Okay.
Hardcore, farm-oriented pornography is not something we watch together.
Stop. You're making. You're people. People are going to say that you are protesting too much. And you don't want that in this situation.
No, you don't.
You're digging yourself a hole with a weirdly shaped shovel.
With a weirdly shaped shovel.
A weirdly shaped shovel. It's working, but it shouldn't.
It's my dick.
Enough. I'm not drunk enough for this. For my birthday, you brought me a bottle of absinthe.
I did.
And I made myself a drink with it already. Because by the time I got finished with that previous bottle, I say I have
Foghorn Leghorn over here.
I say I have acquired a taste for the absinthe. That wasn't on the list of alcohol that Winston Churchill drank every day.
No, which we went over today.
I don't know if absinthe was actually legal in the UK in the 40s. I don't know if the UK is one of the countries that banned it or not. I think quite a few countries in Western Europe banned it around the same time that the US did. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't remember. Oh, because you showed me a clip of Gary Oldman being interviewed by Conan.
Or by Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert, sorry. Yeah. Late night hosts. Tall, thin, late night hosts. Of Stephen Colbert interviewing Gary Oldman, and there's a clip from the movie where he played Winston Churchill. Mm-hmm. And the joke is that they were dubbing farts over certain Gary Oldman scenes, and it was making him laugh hysterically. Mm-hmm. But the scene of that, and I was like, do you know how much Winston Churchill drank every day and what he would eat? Like, he probably was a flatulent man. Mm-hmm. He lived to be 90,
right?
But he had like 2 or 3 whiskey sodas before lunch.
Mm-hmm. One of which he had before he got out of bed.
Yeah, before he even got out of bed. He would stay in bed, eat breakfast, which was usually a full English breakfast. Mm-hmm. Stay in bed, eat breakfast, have a whiskey soda, read the newspaper, the sort of stuff. Then he would get out of bed, have another whiskey soda while he was like walking around. For lunch, whole pint of champagne. Yeah, I think it was.
When did he have the cognac? Was
that might have been at lunch actually? Yeah. The cognac might have been at lunch. I don't remember where the first pint of champagne was.
Maybe that was before nap.
Yeah, I don't remember. Like, a truly insane amount of alcohol for a man who, like, he wasn't a thin man, but he was only 5'6". Mm-hmm. Like, his alcohol tolerance must have been legendary. An insane amount of cigars every day as well, and he lived to be 90. There is some speculation. I think it's widely accepted by historians that he suffered from like manic depressive episodes, and there's some speculation that he developed such a crazy drinking habit as a way of self-medicating. Mm-hmm. But good Lord, what an amount to self-medicate! Holy shit! But yeah. A legendary man and a legendary drinker. Like it's like it evokes the same sort of feeling as learning how much Andre the Giant could drink.
Right. Like, he has a world record. I think he still holds it, even though he's been dead for a while.
Because, well, if not a formal one, at least an informal one that everyone's willing to accept. Like, yeah, absolutely. Of course he could do that. Mm-hmm. No one's willing to dispute that Andre the Giant could drink an entire bottle of vodka and feel nothing. Mm-hmm. The man was mad. He's literally a giant. Of course he could.
Right.
And he drank like that all the time.
Yeah. He would drink several cases of beer.
Just by himself. Mm-hmm. Like... Yeah, I think there's a story of him basically drinking a bar dry over the course of a night. Like,
and it's kind of sad because he suffered with pain for more than half of his life.
Yeah, as a consequence of being so big.
Yeah, and a wrestler at the same time.
Yeah, like things definitely didn't come together because I mean he wasn't that big just genetically. I mean. It was for genetic reasons, but he had gigantism, which tends to cause other health issues because your bones just ain't supposed to be that big. Right. It's not like Shaq or whatever where he's just that fucking tall. Like you can be that big and tall without having some sort of a medical reason for being so big. It can just be, you got the good genes that made you very large. But, speaking of men that are very large, or in this case, actually very small. Yeah. Very large men rendered very small. I finished painting my first group of Space Marines. I guess I technically finished painting them today because I noticed another little bit that I missed. There's I feel like it's like every mini painter's curse, especially as the models have gotten more and more detailed as the years have gone on, where you think you're done and then you rotate one of the minis in a way that for some reason you hadn't before and you notice another detail that you missed. And I noticed one today. And it did also happen to be on a mini that needed some touch-ups anyway. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll... So I did those final little bits about an hour before you got here. But yeah, there were a number of things that I missed. And it was just like, God damn it.
You know, I almost did go to the like the Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that and see if they didn't have some sort of a cool thing that airbrush people like, and then I thought, there's no way I would get the wrong thing. It'd be dumb because it's your birthday on Saturday.
Yeah, it is my birthday on Saturday.
That's why I brought the
by the way, it is my mom's birthday today.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mom.
If you're listening the day it comes out, Mom, happy birthday. But I mean, I have most of the things that I need for my airbrush. I've got regular paint brushes as well, but yeah, so I don't know what you would even get because I got the stuff that I need.
Right. You're a grown man with a grown man job.
Exactly.
You need a thing, you buy the thing.
I'm just thinking of the I don't remember if it was a Make Some Noise or Game Changer bit, but the ranting mini game was just like, I'm 35 years old. I promise you, I have gotten the things I need for myself. Would it kill you to get me a fucking bouquet? Why can't men get flowers?
So I was visited upon by someone of my past. Now she's a part of my past. Yeah, and she tried to give me a dog.
I feel like you shouldn't. You should never try to give someone a dog.
No.
It should be, someone should want a dog, and if you have a dog, then you give them that dog. You do not want a dog, and yet this dog was attempted to be forced upon you.
Right. It was going to be, it was a dog named Jack. Now, I've known this dog Jack for over 2 years now, and this dog has bit me on the shin or foot every time I've come into contact with this dog.
Yeah.
He is an asshole. But, she had to get rid of Jack because she lives way out of town now at a trailer park, and that dog has bitten 2 people in that trailer park. They said you either have to euthanize the dog or just get the dog out of here. So she said, would you like Jack? I'm like, no, I don't. Yeah.
Well, if it really just felt like she was trying to guilt you into taking the dog.
Of course.
Because, he's going to die if you don't. Okay, but that's not your problem.
Yeah.
Like it's sad, animal probably deserves to live. It's not his fault he's such an asshole. It's her fault for not knowing how to teach a dog to not be a fucking asshole. So
she did, by the way, drop him off at her daughter's.
Okay. But yeah, no, I adore dogs. I despise bad dog owners, which is also why I don't have a dog, because I don't think I would be a particularly good dog owner. I don't think I would be a bad dog owner, but I don't know if I have the energy to be a good dog owner.
Sure. Dogs are an energy. Cats are not.
Yeah. Dogs are wonderful. They're adorable, but they're kind of like nieces and nephews where it's so nice to be able to give them back at the end of the day.
I like to pet other people's dogs.
Yeah. Petting someone else's dog is great. But yeah, that's why I have a cat and not a dog, is because cats are a lot less needy. And in some ways at least easier to take care of.
Yeah.
Or take care of properly anyway. I think there are some dogs that are probably very low maintenance, but you never really know if that's going to be the case. There are some breeds that are more predisposed to being a more low maintenance dog. It's kind of almost paradoxical because there are some pretty big dogs that are very lazy. and that can stay fairly healthy without having to go on a big long walk all the time. I think boxers are typically one of those breeds where that's a big dog, but they're usually pretty lazy. They don't necessarily have a ton of energy to be zipping around all the time. But there's always exceptions to that. And
every boxer I've ever met, I mean, like dog, has had some sort of joint problem.
Yeah, that can be the other. I mean, cats they can have health problems like that, especially now with like cat breeding being much more prevalent than it used to be. like getting specific breeds of cats to a standard. It wasn't a thing for an extremely long time.
Right.
It was just there were specific kinds of cats that lived in some areas. Like, yeah, of course, house cats that live in Norway are probably going to have long coats and be kind of big. And that's where you got Norwegian forest cats and stuff.
Or Himalayans.
Yeah, cats just tended to develop a certain way, and people didn't necessarily intentionally breed them, but that's changed over the last century.
Right.
It's been a much more intensive and much more long ongoing process with dogs. Reading, are you having a heart attack right now? Are you okay?
I'm just having chest pain.
You keep holding your chest and it's worrying me, and you're making faces.
Oh, I didn't know I was making faces. I apologize.
Yeah, well, don't apologize for making faces if you're in pain.
Yeah,
I'm just worried about you. I'm not annoyed. I just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I might stop at the clinic tomorrow or something.
Okay.
Maybe. Hey, can you check me out or whatever?
Okay. All right. But anyway, there's a story in the prep today about like French bulldogs and about how they're again like the most popular breed in the country, and almost all the Frenchies I've ever met have been wonderful, nice little dogs. But also, I'm like, you are a genetic mistake. We shouldn't have done that as a species. What we've done to you is cruel. They can't even breed on their own. They need human intervention to reproduce because of the way we've had them reproduce. Like,
such freaks we've made them into.
Yeah, they can barely breathe. Like, God damn, like I don't know. I know there's an ongoing effort to kind of rehabilitate the pug as a breed. Of people trying to sort of breed them back into the form they had in like the early 1900s, where they had,
they're healthy.
Yeah, where they're like healthy. I don't know of any such efforts with the French bulldog. There's probably something, but I don't know if it's gotten a lot of traction. But yeah, I don't know. It upsets me on a certain level, because I'm just like, oh, you could have such a better life. But yeah, anyway, that turned into a weird bummer.
Yeah. We were talking about dogs and it got sad.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, if there's one thing that's like a shot to the heart, if you want to emotionally manipulate me with a piece of media, have something bad happen to a dog. And I will be so upset. It will make me feel such feelings. To this day, the end of Marley and Me, I'm a wreck, a sobbing wreck at the end of that film. It's not possible for me to hold it together.
You should test yourself one of these times. Watch Marley and Me back to back with Old Yeller.
I feel like Old Yeller I could probably withstand, because it's the movie's just so old. There's something about it where I'm like it's so ingrained into pop culture, and also there's the logical part of my mind that's like, rabies. Oh, he has rabies. Yeah. Like you got to take care of that. Now, at the end of Marley and Me, the dog is being put down because of a bad health problem that he has, but I much more closely identify that because I've been there.
You had to be put down?
Yeah, I had to be put down. I got better, though.
By the way, I've never seen Marley and Me.
Oh, it's an all right movie.
And now why would I? I mean, now that you've ruined it for me.
The dog dies at the end. Spoilers.
Yeah.
But like they have to put him down at the end of the film. But like I've been in that room when that happens, and so it was much more the first time that we watched that movie as a family. It was a couple of months after we had put down one of our dogs. Jeez. And we were all crying. I don't know if my dad was, probably a little bit, maybe not, but everyone else was fucking crying.
And which dog was this?
We had a Shetland sheepdog named Gizmo, and he got cancer when he was 4, which was sad because he was still a young dog. He had a lot left.
And how do you feel about that right now?
Bad. I don't want to talk about it, actually.
Express your feelings regarding.
Well, my feelings are it made me sad.
Okay.
But Zima, what are you doing? Going behind it. She wants to jump up where the cat grass is, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Hey.
You got 2 of them.
Yeah, I got 2 of them, so hopefully I can trim one. Mm-hmm. And then the other will be, by the time I'm trimmed down, I can start on the other one, and then by the time I'm done with that one, maybe the other one will have grown back. I don't know. I'm testing it out. Maybe she's just hiding. I don't know.
Maybe.
But anyhow, you know what didn't make me sad?
Whitechapel?
This Whitechapel album, which, the previous album did make me sad. In a way that I liked, know, in a way that the sad, depressed goblin in my brain was really satisfied with. That previous album definitely hit the spot, and they'd been doing that for a bit. Like the Valley and Ken were were a pair of albums of Phil kind of venting a lot of his feelings surrounding his childhood through a fantastical kind of dark fantasy sort of lens, in heavy metal, but a lot of clean singing, which Phil is really good at.
Right.
Plenty of screamed vocals as well.
Which he's also really good
which at. He's amazing at. He's one of the best to ever do it. But a very mature sound. Lots of great guitar solos and melodies on these albums. And then when they decided to make this album, they were like, you know what?
Fuck it.
Let's show everyone we haven't lost our edge.
Right.
And I think this is one of the very few times that I can remember where like a core band, a deathcore band, a metalcore band, what have you, has said in the lead up to an album, this is our heaviest album yet. And it was actually fucking true. So I feel like every time a band says that, the album's gonna fucking suck. Like every time a band is like, this is our heaviest, most technical album yet, but it's also our most melodic. It's like, shut up. You're just saying fucking buzzwords to get anybody to listen. They meant it when they said this was their heaviest album yet.
Because it is.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of people have been talking about it as a throwback to like their first 2 albums especially. They kind of have 3 distinct periods. They have their early like first 2 or 3 albums, which are a like really gnarly, really gory, just gross deathcore. That was also, as young musicians and making the deathcore of the time of like the mid to late 2000s. That was just the style at the time. It was kind of a basic sort of underground kind of. It lived and died on MySpace. Is what where the deathcore scene was at the time.
It was the style at the time.
Yeah, it was the style at the time. You go back and listen to those first 2 albums, and it's got a lot of the really gross, gory sort of just nasty, visceral, guttural essence to it. But it's missing a whole lot of what is on this album.
Right.
And I feel like what makes this album so good is all the shit that they have learned.
Right, because they were more green at that time.
Like this album is gnarly and heavy and just so evil sounding.
And evil, period.
But also it's got little surprises and whatnot, and the style that they cultivated over the last 3 albums is not gone from it. It's not dead. It's just sort of lurking in the background. Just because Phil's clean vocals aren't anywhere to be heard, it doesn't mean that that all of the growth that they had gone through went out the window and they just decided, we'll make a throwback album and not really try. Oh no,
they tried.
Yeah. And it worked out. And like you said, not just an evil sounding album, an evil album. Right. These are some like Cannibal Corpse ass lyrics.
Right.
Like, good Lord. Reading the lyrics for this is like, what the fuck, dude? The basic, because this does follow a concept, which I wonder if that if that's just going to be their thing, if they're going to keep on making concept albums as time moves forward, because The Valley and Kin were kind of one concept. This is a bit of a looser concept, but it's basically about a really fucked up demonic cult, full of people who think they're like children of Satan, and do some real fucked up shit. And that's kind of all there is to the concept.
Yeah.
But a very fully realized concept, I think, as far as we want to make an album about a demonic cult that does fucked up shit. Well, they sure did.
Mission accomplished.
Maybe it's just because it's a game setting that I've been learning about, but there's a game I've told you a little bit about called Trench Crusade.
Okay.
Which is like Warhammer, but on a slightly smaller scale, not physically as far as the mini size, but like the army sizes can be much smaller. And it's like an alternate history World War I where there's
is this a physical tabletop?
Yeah. It's like a miniature war game. Right, yeah. Not an RPG, just it's a war game.
Oh, okay.
But it's skirmish sized, so instead of a whole army you have like a couple of squads. But it's like a gritty World War I sort of diesel punk aesthetic, where you have these horrific demons on one side and like cultists, and then you have Christians and Muslims on the other side fighting against them, and it's so gnarly. It's got the art, a bunch of people who made art for like Magic the Gathering.
Cool.
People who used to do like rules for Warhammer. It's like a super group team of game designers, and it's the art and the lore is just so gnarly, and listening to this album just brought that in mind. If you just Google Trench Crusade and look at the images and then listen to this album, I think you'll understand exactly why I thought of it. Like, it's got that feeling. Yeah. The first time I listened to this album, I think I had a stank face on the entire time.
Yeah.
Like at least once every couple of minutes I go, ugh. Oh,
yeah, because you heard it before I did, and then you brought it into my studio, and you played it for me, and it was like, Jesus.
I don't want to say it never stops, because it does. There are some quiet moments. There are some moments that they let you breathe.
Right, there's interludes.
But in the individual songs, you hardly have a moment to come up for air. It's just pummeling all the time, but it never feels boring. Like it's not mindless chugging. They have 3 guitarists, and the guitarists are all doing stuff. It's so dense. It's so dense. There's so much to dig into. There's so many little threads you can listen to every time you listen to it. I've listened to this album so many times. I don't know. I've talked a lot. Do you have some feelings you want to share about it?
I agree with everything you just said just then. It's just one of the more punch you in the gut kind of sonically albums I've heard in a long time.
I think it's got to be one of the one of the heaviest albums I've ever listened to, at least in the sense of like, I think there are things that are heavier in a certain kind of way. Like when metal fans talk about when something is heavy, there are so many different things that could mean, and so many different reasons why an album could be heavy.
Right, like it's not heavy in the way doom metal is heavy.
Yeah.
Extremely heavy doom metal.
And it's not even heavy in the way that like a really like a extremely gross, gnarly traditional death metal album would be heavy. Like there's a band called Pissgrave, right? Like that's a really heavy band, but they're so lo-fi and gross that it feels different. This is,
I mean, they're a Christian metal, yeah.
Yeah, Pissgrave is a Christian metal band,
right?
But like it feels almost. It's like maximalist in a way. The only thing it's missing is symphonic elements, like that. Like, you know, the only way it could be more, I guess, is if it was a Lorna Shore album.
Sure.
But Lorna Shore also has such a more theatrical like songwriting style.
Right.
They lean into those symphonic elements and sort of incorporate that and some black metal elements too. Whereas this is just, it's one of the purest distillations I can think of deathcore as a genre. If someone asks me, hey, what's a deathcore album? What does that sound like? I'm playing them this album. I'm playing them the title track of this album.
Yeah.
Like, it's genre defining, I think. And it's wild that like these guys have been making music for like 20 years now, which is a long time for a deathcore band. Like they're one of the not quite one of the OG deathcore bands, but as far as like the first big wave of deathcore bands, they're one of the few that are still out there and making music. And the fact that they made an album that feels this fresh and this big and this well fitting into the genre. Like, people were really happy with Kin. I was really happy with Kin. I adore that album. Yeah. It's an amazing album. But it was them really pushing the boundaries and exploring, you know, what can we do without being, you know, completely out of our depth, you know, genre-wise. And they did that a little bit on The Valley as well, which is an album that I also really love. But this just fits so much more right in the center of what deathcore is as a genre.
And one thing, just a minor note here, one thing I love about this being a genre-defining deathcore album is it's by a band called Whitechapel.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't know and you played, it's just like gospel?
Well, there's two levels to it.
Yeah.
There's one where you think, oh, Whitechapel, how nice, how quaint. I think if you're British and you hear Whitechapel, you know what they were referencing when they named themselves, which is that's the place where Jack the Ripper murdered those people.
Sure.
So there's two levels to it. You have the people that are like, it's not quite like Lamb of God, right? Where that's much more easy to get confused by, and they're not really making a reference to something bad that happened. That was them just being kind of cheeky and blasphemous.
Right.
On a level that wasn't quite as overtly blasphemous as their previous band name, which was Burn the Priest. But that
was a little less tongue in cheek.
Yeah. But good God, there's so much going on. It is nice to hear Phil Bozeman just sort of kind of come like. I don't think anyone was in doubt that he was still one of the greatest of all time as far as, you know, vocalists in this genre goes. But it was nice to hear him really fucking prove it. Yeah. And just be like, hey, I'm still the king. And I don't feel like anyone... I feel like any other deathcore vocalists are like, yeah, no, Phil's the king. He's still the king. You know, Will Ramos, Ben Dewar, you know, they're still going to be like, yeah, no, it's Phil Bozeman.
Yeah, we're great, but no. Yeah. But, you know, and I wonder if there isn't somebody in Montana who does good vocals.
Who maybe lives in Bozeman, Montana.
His name is Phil Louisville.
Phil. Well, it would be Phil Chattanooga.
Chattanooga, that's right, Chattanooga.
I think they're from Chattanooga. Hi, I'm Phil. I'm Philip Chattanooga from Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah.
God, that would be silly. I think it's Chattanooga. It's somewhere in Tennessee, I know. Mm-hmm. But Seema, stop bumping the table. I can hear it through my headphones. But does this album slap? I think that's a stupid question this far into the discussion.
Yeah.
It's got an 85%, averaging together, I believe, 8 reviews on their Wikipedia page, which is pretty good. There were a couple 100% in there, which I think it deserves. What's your favorite song?
You know, I went back and forth, but I think a Visceral Wretch.
A Visceral Wretch is a good, heavy song. I feel like if I were to choose a least favorite on the album, I would choose a Visceral Wretch.
Really?
Because it's almost too gross for me. Because it's about eating shit.
Right.
Is what the song is about. Like, I don't hate it. It's a really heavy song.
Yeah.
But there's some part of my brain that's just like, ugh,
gross.
No.
So you went for the title track, I assume.
No, I could have wrote that down if I had expanded this out to 3 favorites. I probably would have put that next. I put predictably final track. Nothing is coming for any of us.
Yes.
Really good. One of the songs that kind of has those hints of the last 2 albums in it. It pops up more than you would think if you're really looking for like, oh, that's kind of that lead is kind of melodic back there. More than just this song, and plenty of other songs too. They'll have little bits of lead, or maybe even second lead because they have 3 guitarists. That has just a little bit of a melody to it. But that one definitely has the most of it. The song before it, Mammoth God, also has a little bit more of that as well. As a second favorite, I also wrote down Ex Infernus.
Okay. That's the interlude, isn't it?
No. Actually, maybe that is the interlude. Maybe the...
You're thinking Hate Cult Ritual, or...
I think I'm thinking of Hate Cult Ritual, yeah. They bleed into each other seamlessly, and I'm usually not looking at the song titles.
Right.
I think I am thinking of Hate Cult Ritual. Something about that chant.
That chant is pretty awesome.
That chant is so fucking hype.
Yeah,
it gets my blood pumping. It's really, like, I can picture, like, a huge horde of, like, cultists... Yeah. Screaming that as they're like
hunt, kill, feed.
We hunt, we kill, we feast, we slaughter.
Yeah. Or conquer.
No, we conquer. Yeah. We hunt, we kill, we feast, we conquer. Yeah. We are disciples of hate, rage, and murder. I mean, as a Warhammer fan, like that's just Khorne. That's just the blood god right there. Which is distinct from my cat, which everyone calls the blood god.
Right.
But like, yeah, that's it. Just I like it. It's good. But yeah, I also really love the title track. Just extremely heavy. Yeah, I love this album. I've listened to it so many times. I'm gonna listen to it so many more times. I feel like I'm usually like a little bit more neutral on albums that are this heavy. It's not that I ever dislike them usually, but it's usually just like I tend to be a bit more fond of stuff that is a bit more melodic or a bit more like emotionally effective or that sort of thing.
More
like
of a dynamic.
Yeah, stuff that's a little bit more dynamic, something that's going to occasionally maybe tug on your heartstrings a little bit. I tend to gravitate more towards that with my music preferences, even for music that is objectively very heavy. But man, maybe it's just because it comes from these guys. Yeah. And I know what they can do. Kind of like with like Gatecreeper, right? Where like I didn't really care all that much about Gatecreeper until they put out an EP with a song on it that I really liked. That was kind of this really epic sort of doom metal track. And I was like, oh, okay, some switch has gotten flipped where now I'm like, oh, I like all their stuff now. I don't know. Because I for a long time, I didn't really care about Whitechapel all that much. Like, before we listened to Kin, I don't think I had sat down and listened to a Whitechapel album in probably like 7 years,
really? Something
like that. Like I think the last time I tried to listen to Whitechapel was probably when I was in college, and it was mostly just because they weren't really my thing. Like, the really gory, really nasty deathcore, it wasn't quite what I was looking for, and they felt a little basic to me. And then, we were looking for something to listen to. I was like, oh, there's a brand new Whitechapel album. I heard their previous one was pretty good, but I never listened to it. Well, let's listen to Kin and see if I like it. And then I loved it. And then I went back and listened to The Valley, and I loved that too. And it turned me into a Whitechapel fan, which I wouldn't have described myself as before then. So, yeah, I don't know. I really like this. What medal do you bestow upon it? Like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
It's a gold.
It's a gold. Yeah. It's a gold. 100%. A really nasty, sort of blood-soaked gold, but it's a gold for sure. So I think I know the answer to this question because we talked about it a little bit. What do you want to talk about next week for the last week of March?
Last week of March, we got to talk about the new Spirit Box.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about Tsunami Sea.
Yes.
By Spirit Box. That'll be next week. I had forgotten that, cause I thought you were going to spring a Residence album on me, but I had forgotten that the one you wanted to listen to was one we actually have listened to.
Right. So that made my choice easy.
Okay, yeah. Spirit Box, new Spirit Box.
Yep.
I am happy about it. I'm into it. Let's do it.
Cool.
So that will be next week. Until then, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to our feed on whatever podcast service you're using to listen to us. But thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.
I got a good one.